حاملا معي المودة والصداقة.
January 20th, 2017. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's top stories. Live from Capitol Hill, the inauguration of the United States of America's 45th President Donald Trump is kicking off at the setting of a 4-year course of political reform. Russia ready to do its part to move to a constructive dialogue with the United States, according to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. And in Syria, more than 40 fighters of former al-Qaeda affiliate Fatah Sham killed in airstrikes on their camp in northern Syria. Donald Trump, president-elect, is about to embark on the journey of a lifetime, his inauguration to become the nation's 45th president and the setting of a 4-year course of American political reform. The pictures you're seeing are live from Capitol Hill, where the president-elect is expected to come in at any moment. The Republican billionaire's arrival is capping an extraordinary and improbable run for the White House that, as he takes the reins from President Barack Obama at noontime Washington, D.C., will launch the United States into new and uncharted waters. The journey begins, and I will be working and fighting very hard to make it a great journey for the American people, Trump, the real estate magnate and former reality television show star, tweeted before leaving Trump Tower, his Manhattan home. At 70 years of age, he is the oldest man ever to begin work in the Oval Office. This is a momentous day before a historic day, Vice President-elect Mike Pence called it, as Washington put its finishing touches on the downtown area where hundreds of thousands of Americans are congregating for Trump's inauguration. Trump has vowed to tear up Obama's policies and re-examine decades-old alliances with Europe and in Asia. One of Obama's last acts in office was to speak to German Chancellor Angela Merkel and declare transatlantic ties vital for the world order, a statement that would have been a banal platitude before this rocky transition. However, still, Obama had one more part to play this morning, hosting Trump as well as his wife Melania in the Blue Room of the White House for morning tea. Numerous dignitaries, including his unsuccessful Democratic rival for the presidency, Hillary Clinton, and 3 former presidents will be in attendance. Along with the crowds of Trump supporters, protesters are vowing to be out in force. Trump's working-class supporters have sent him to Washington to turn the page on the Obama era and upend the political status quo. And he is vowing to act, and swiftly. And he is expected to sign 4 or 5 decrees today, and then a raft of others beginning Monday to dismantle every policy he can without waiting for congressional approval. As you can see on the pictures, it seems like it's a rainy day in Washington, D.C., and the crowds seem to have gathered, waiting for this inauguration to kick off. Trump's first major legislative lift will be dismantling the health care reforms known as Obamacare. Republicans, led by House Speaker Paul Ryan, have sought for years to repeal the Affordable Care Act. And now Trump, despite potential pitfalls, is chomping at the bit. This Friday will revolve around the age-old ritual of the swearing-in, when the president-elect places his left hand on a Bible, raises his right, and takes the oath of office. His inaugural address will follow. Russia is ready to do its part to move to a constructive dialogue with the United States, according to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Lavrov said Moscow paid attention to U.S. President-elect's statements about the U.S. being ready to jointly fight the Islamic State. And a Russian Defense Ministry shop in Moscow is offering a special 10% discount to all U.S. citizens. A screen in the shop's window announcing the discount featured Trump's photograph and a text in Russian reading, "Additional 10% discount on the day of U.S. President inauguration." Discount for U.S. Embassy staff as well as citizens. The shop is called Army of Russia, and it specializes in military-style clothes, supplies, and is located across the street from the U.S. Embassy in central Moscow. Many Russians are hoping for a thaw in relations with Washington as soon as Trump takes the office. And so the world is preparing for the new presidency, and Donald Trump's inauguration is likely to create bigger uncertainty for the European Union than Britain's decision to leave the bloc, according to Britain's Finance Minister Philip Hammond speaking in Davos.
So a change of administration in Washington is a very big issue for us. It's also a very big issue for the European Union. And, Brexit has introduced uncertainty. I think the change of administration in the US has probably introduced an even bigger piece of uncertainty for the European Union. We'll have to see how this plays out. And anything that changes the settled status quo of a Europe that lives with Russia as a neighbor, but lives under a protective US umbrella as it does that. Anything that changes European countries' perception of that relationship, I think, is going to play into the dynamics of the European Union, because it is not an exaggeration to say that for some, at least, of the Eastern partners in the European Union, security is a much more important consideration than economics. It's their number one priority.
Jez, you want to...
An efficient and as friction-free as possible.
Outgoing U.S. President Barack Obama says that he still worries about inequality such as voting rights, and that the U.S. remains the only advanced nation that makes it harder to vote rather than easier. We are going back to his final press conference where he says he will take some time off to be quiet a little bit, but adds he will step into the public arena if he thinks core values are at stake. Stay with us. We're also showing live the pictures of the inauguration of Donald Trump.
Because I think that if we are not investing in making sure everybody plays a role in this economy, the economy will not grow as fast, and I think it will also lead to further and further separation between us as Americans, and not just along racial lines. I mean, there are a whole bunch of folks who voted for the president-elect because they feel forgotten and disenfranchised. They feel as if they're being looked down on. They feel as if their kids aren't going to have the same opportunities as they did. We are the only country in the advanced world that makes it harder to vote rather than easier. And that dates back. There's an ugly history to that we should not be shy about talking about.
Voting rights?
Yes, I'm talking about voting rights. The reason that we are the only country among advanced democracies that makes it harder to vote is it traces directly back to Jim Crow and the legacy of slavery. And it became sort of acceptable to restrict the franchise. Well, first of all, let's be clear. Chelsea Manning has served a tough prison sentence. So the notion that the average person who was thinking about disclosing vital classified information would think that it goes unpunished, I don't think would get that impression from the sentence that Chelsea Manning has served. It has been my view that given she went to trial, that due process was carried out, that she took responsibility for her crime, that the sentence that she received was very disproportionate relative to what other leakers had received, and that she had served a significant amount of time, that it made sense to commute and not pardon her sentence. And I feel very comfortable that justice has been served and that a message has still been sent that when it comes to our national security, that wherever possible, we need folks who may have legitimate concerns about the actions of government or their superiors or the agencies in which they work, that they try to work through the established channels and avail themselves of the whistleblower protections that have been put in place. I want to do some writing. I want to be quiet a little bit and not hear myself talk so darn much. I want to spend precious time with my girls. So those are my priorities this year. But as I said before, I'm still a citizen. But there's a difference between that normal functioning of politics and certain issues or certain moments where I think our core values may be at stake. I put in that category if I saw systematic discrimination being ratified in some fashion. I put in that category explicit or functional obstacles to people being able to vote, to exercise their franchise.
We are broadcasting live from Washington the inauguration of President-to-be Donald Trump arriving at the scene with his wife Melania Trump to take oath and to be sworn in as the 45th President of the United States. They're about to get in their vehicle to drive to downtown Washington, where he will be sworn in. U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama took a final stroll through the White House with the family's two Portuguese water dogs in a video she shared on Twitter. Mrs. Obama can be seen calling Sonny and Bo over to her and then walking with them through the presidential mansion she has called home for the past 8 years. The United States of America is saying goodbye to the Obamas today as a new era is ushered in. 4-year-old Sonny made headlines last week after she bit a friend of Malia Obama, the president's daughter. The guest was given stitches by the White House doctor. And after the inauguration, the Obamas will move into a rented mansion about 2.4 kilometers away so that their youngest daughter, Sasha, can finish high school. Stay with us. We'll be right back live. Welcome back. You're watching live from Washington, D.C., the inauguration of U.S. President-to-be Donald Trump, about to become the nation's 45th president, setting a new 4-year course of American political reform.
Okay, I'll go back and look.
He has just left the church service and is in the vehicle now, along with his wife, Melania Trump, waiting to leave to the downtown area next to Capitol Hill, where he is expected to be sworn in as the nation's 45th president. Britain is facing a period of momentous change following its decision to leave the EU and will need to forge a new role in the world, according to Prime Minister Theresa May, who was speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos. She said that Britain wants a bold and ambitious trade agreement with the EU when it leaves the bloc.
The fact that global temperatures are now at record highs, again, 3 years in a row, is unprecedented. We haven't seen this level of temperature rise for 115,000 years. The urgency of action is so present. So our reaction at
More than 40 fighters of former al-Qaeda affiliate Fatah al-Sham Front were killed in airstrikes on their camp in northern Syria, according to a monitoring group. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said it could not immediately specify who carried out the strikes in the western part of Aleppo province. A U.S.-led coalition, as well as the Syrian government and its ally Russia, have carried out strikes against Fatah al-Sham targets in recent weeks. The fighter group, formerly known as the Nusra Front, is not party to a Russian and Turkish brokered ceasefire that went into effect on December 30th and has sustained major losses in airstrikes in recent weeks. Around 100 of its fighters have been killed since the start of the year, according to the Monitor. Fatah al-Sham is allied with rebel groups that are party to the ceasefire, and together they control virtually all of Idlib province in the northwest, as well as parts of Aleppo. In Lebanon, several key roads in central Bekaa were blocked for a second consecutive day in protest at the abduction of 74-year-old merchant Saad Risha. The Furzal-Zahli road was blocked with bulldozers near the town's intersection in the presence of Furzal Municipal Chief Milhem Al-Ghadan. Saad Risha's son Jimmy, the businessman Michel Daher, and residents and dignitaries from the region, according to the state-run national news agency. Members of Brital's municipality and a number of dignitaries, meanwhile, staged a sit-in on their town's public road in solidarity with the family of the abductee and to protest the recurrent abductions in the region. The captors have been identified as 5 residents of Brital, and the army has been carrying intensive security measures in and around the town in search for the kidnappers and the elderly abductee. Speaker Nabih Bideh has also dispatched an envoy to the town to help in the case. Saudi-led airstrikes on Yemen's Red Sea coast have killed at least 29 rebels over the past 24 hours, military sources are saying. The strikes hit 2 military camps, an ammunition depot, and an arms transporter in Hodeidah province. Around 20 fighters and renegade troops were also wounded. The Saudi-led coalition intervened in Yemen in March 2015 in support of beleaguered President Abdurrabbu Mansour al-Hadi. But despite its massively superior firepower, the rebels and their allies still control the capital Sana'a and much of the central and northern highlands, as well as the Red Sea coast. Pro-government forces launched a major offensive earlier this month aimed at ousting the rebels from Dubab district at the southern end of the 450-kilometer-long coastline. Ellen DeGeneres thanked U.S. President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama during her talk show that aired on Thursday. She played a montage of clips looking back on all the times they were on her show. The president appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres show a total of 5 times, beginning when he was campaigning for his first election. Highlights include a clip of him performing a rap song to Michelle on Valentine's Day and much more. We're just continuing with President-to-be Donald Trump. We're seeing pictures of Vice President Mike Pence, who has just arrived. He is greeting Joe Biden, as well as his Vice President Joe Biden and his wife Jill Biden in Washington, downtown Washington, at the inauguration of Donald Trump. The president-to-be should be arriving in any moment. We were just watching him exit the church ceremony along with his wife Melania earlier. It is a rainy day in Washington today. We'll be broadcasting these images live as the inauguration goes through. Here is Ellen DeGeneres' clip saying goodbye and thank you to the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama.
Today is the last day that Barack Obama will be our president. I want to personally thank him for changing my life. I am a legally married woman because of him, and so is my wife. His courage and compassion created equality for everyone. He moved us forward and made more happen in the past 8 years than I ever dreamed possible. I love him. I love Michelle. Here's a little bit of time we spent together over the last 8 years. Our first guest could make history by becoming the first African-American president of the United States. You got to really want that job back, because that's just tons of pressure. But
It's like being the host of Ellen.
Almost. It's almost that kind of pressure. Yeah. We have a brand new president of the United States. dancer, but you're a better dancer than
I know! That's what I've been telling him.
Backstage function, high-class luncheon, food is served and you're stone cold munching. Music comes on, people start to dance, but when you ate so much you split your pants. A girl starts walking, guys start thinking, sits down next to you and starts talking. Says she wanna dance because she likes to do, so don't you stand there, bust the move.
I always carry around this that a woman gave me. It means a lot to me. I better get back to work.
I was just wondering if you could do more push-ups than I could do.
You know, it depends on how your back is. I know you got these back issues.
No, no. While I was in D.C., I went to the White House and I stole something. It's Obama. I took their dog. Michelle, you can get him back if you admit that you cheated in our push-up contest. Both you and Michelle are really, really amazing. Michelle is such a strong, wonderful role model for all women. And, you know, she has been a great First Lady.
That is indisputable. Somebody call the Situation Room because things are about to get hot. Michelle, this Valentine's Day, I'm going to treat you right. Because I love you so much, I, Obama, care about you more than you even know.
When I see you two together, you seem very loving and very close.
Laughter is huge, and I think you have that down. And mutual respect. He's always had my back.
What an amazing day for our country. President Obama just came out in support of same-sex marriage, and I said...
You go right here. Hold on a second.
You're watching live on the screen from Washington. 44th President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle Obama greet the 45th incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump, and his wife Melania in Capitol Hill in downtown Washington, live as we speak. Donald Trump is about to be sworn in as the 45th president, marking a departure in course with Obama and setting the stage for a 4-year course of American political reform. We're live. We're showing the inauguration live as we go through it during the day. In a few moments, the 45th president-to-be will be sworn in as per rituals. He tweeted before leaving his Manhattan home, "The journey begins, and I will be working and fighting very hard to make it a great journey for the American people." At 70 years of age, Donald Trump is the oldest man ever to begin work in the Oval Office. The Obamas, although depart today, leave with quite the approval rating, 60% for Barack Obama for the last 8 years. One of the highest approval ratings of a president in recent times. And he is to stay in Washington, D.C. in a rented mansion about 2.4 kilometers away so that his youngest daughter, Sasha, can finish high school. Hundreds of people are expected in downtown Washington. It's a rainy day, as you can see. Quite a change from 8 years ago when Barack Obama took the oath. It was a very cold day then. He made sure to mention that in his last press conference, where he also spoke of his rapport with Donald Trump, calling them cordial. The nation is divided over the different policies that Donald Trump is putting forth, as well as the cabinet members. There seems to be a departure from the Obama policies in the 8 years that we have seen and witnessed, particularly a rapprochement with Russia, where Donald Trump has on several occasions praised Russian President Vladimir Putin, calling him a leader, a great leader. We just saw the 45th president to be Donald Trump arrive along with his wife Melania Trump and be greeted by the 44th president Barack Obama and his wife Michelle. Donald Trump's family is there with him. Also, his rival Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton is expected, as well as 3 previous presidents will be in attendance. We will be broadcasting this live as the days goes by.
Shut up.
As we were saying earlier, 3 former presidents are expected to be in attendance. Former President George W. Bush has just arrived, along with his wife Laura Bush. As you know, George W. Bush's father, as well as his mother, Barbara Bush, are in the hospital and sent their well wishes to 45th president-to-be Donald Trump. Vice President Mike Pence, who arrived a few moments ago, called this a momentous day and a historic day. As you can see, George W. Bush has just arrived, along with his wife, Laura Bush. Three former presidents are expected to be in attendance, as well as former Democratic rival Hillary Clinton. The inauguration is kicking off as we speak. The ceremony will revolve around the age-old ritual of the swearing-in, when the president-elect places his left hand on a Bible, raises his right one, and takes the oath of office, followed by his inaugural address. Along with the crowds of Trump supporters that you can see, protesters have also vowed to be out in force. Trump's supporters have sent him to Washington to turn the page on the Obama era and upend the political status quo. And he has vowed to act back and swiftly. He's expected to sign 4 or 5 decrees today, and then a raft of others beginning Monday to dismantle every policy he can without waiting for congressional approval. Capitol Hill, where the inauguration is to take place, with the crowds of supporters. Jr. saying his first major legislative lift will be dismantling the health care reform known as Obamacare. Congressional Republicans have sought for years to repeal the act, and now Trump is chomping at it. Hundreds of thousands of Americans are congregating for Donald Trump's inauguration. It is a rainy day in Washington, D.C. We will be broadcasting the inauguration live as it goes by throughout the day. Make sure to stay tuned in for all the updates. '45th President-to-be Donald Trump arrived a few moments ago with his wife Melania Trump, greeted by the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, along with his wife Michelle. Also in attendance are expected 3 former presidents, including George W. Bush and his wife Laura, which also arrived a few moments ago. Donald Trump's former Democratic rival for the presidency, Hillary Clinton, is also and is expected to be in attendance. It is a rainy day there in Washington, D.C., where supporters are out in numbers. We can see that was Donald Trump's son, Donald Jr., along with his wife and family. All of Donald Trump's children will be present at the inauguration. That is his daughter, Ivanka Trump, along with her husband, who was named one of the senior advisors of Donald Trump, Jared Kushner. Ivanka Trump making her way, and right behind her, Tiffany Trump, Donald Trump's other daughter from wife Marla Maples. Arriving as we see them right now. The sons and daughters of Donald Trump to take part in his inauguration.